Tomorrow is election day, of course, and voters are getting ready to make their voices heard up and down the ballot from local offices to statewide races. Every vote will help shape the future of the Garden State. To help us break it down and what to watch for, our friend Micah Rasmussen. I always screw up your last name. Now I'm screwing up your first name. What the heck? I need my coffee, Micah.
I
Director of
throw a
the
couple of curveballs,
Yeah, there you
it's
go.
not one, but two.
Direct. They say, Michael, is it Michael? No, it's Micah, director of the Rebovich Institute for New Jersey Politics at Rider University. Good morning, Micah. I know you have nothing better to do today. You're going to get a massage and a mani-pedi. Nothing
Yeah, that's right. I got
scheduled.
to
So,
take the day off, right?
well, this is the final countdown. Da-da-da-da. The latest poll from Insider Advantage Trafalgar has the two candidates for governor in a virtual tie: 50.2% for Sherrill, 49.3% for Chitterelli, with a 2-point margin of error. But I should mention, now it's three polls actually this week that have that kind of point. But in every
hmm
case, Chitterelli is the one behind. Is there significance to that, or do we look at the margin of error? What is the significance to that
Oh,
repetition?
we can look at a lot, but I agree with you that I tend to look at trends. And in the
Mhm.
primary, we had this situation where Cheryl was ahead in every poll in the primary on the Democratic side, and nobody else was ever showing ahead. And it wound up being determinative. It wound up being the way things fell. So there's a lot of consensus around that. Um, most of these polls, even the tight ones, are showing her at or above 50%, which is a magic number in polling because it shows us that more are supporting her than are supporting, not just more, but a majority are supporting her. That means
Mhm.
a minority are supporting Jack in these polls, even the tight races. And so, I think if you look at those tight polls, um, does it surprise anybody on either side if it winds up being a 2 or 3 to 5 point race? No, I think most people think that is where it's going to lie, and that means every vote counts. It means get out there and
Mhm.
vote because anything can happen when you're at that margin.
Michael, when people still say that they are undecided, as recently as this weekend, is it they're just not paying attention? They just don't want to be bothered? How is somebody undecided at this point? And does it bode? I mean, you have two candidates that people really kind of know because you know who your congressman, you should know who your congress member is, and you have a Jack Ciattarelli who was an assemblyman and who ran twice before. You would think by this point there should be some recognition. At some point, they looked at TikTok or something and figured, oh, that's what this person is for. Why
Yeah.
do you still have a few points
We're,
of undecided?
we're late deciders in New Jersey, especially when we don't get a lot of information on a daily basis about the campaign. We'll decide maybe not this late, but I think there's some evidence that some of those late deciders have been breaking toward Jack because he's made up
Mhm.
some ground in recent polling. So I think that has bode well for him. The fact that this last little group has not come over, I think you're right. At this point, how many of them are actually going to come out? How many of them are going to stay home? It's a really good question. I've been thinking about the election this way, Ken. We've had a really strong early vote, and that
Mhm.
probably means the electorate is going to be about 1.4 million, the early voting electorate. We've got 1.2 million votes cast so far. We will probably wind up with 1.4 million early votes cast by the time we get to the election. That probably means a roughly equal amount is going to vote on election day. So when you think about it, if the electorate favors Democrats in the early vote and it favors Republicans in the election day vote, then it's really a question of who gets a stronger piece of their half of the election, right? And what we know a little bit about this early vote electorate: 300,000 more Democrats than Republicans will have
Mhm.
voted. That's a strong firewall, or whatever you want to call it. Republicans have to overcome that. They have to get a more Republican electorate to come out on election day.
And while they tend to come out en masse, the Republicans on election day, you have Republican leaders who've been saying for the last 5 years, you know what? Take advantage of early voting. Anything can happen. Your car could break down, stuck at work, oversleep, kids got to go to the hospital for something. Anything can happen. Take advantage of early voting. Democrats very wisely have used that tool, but you're starting to see Republicans do that a little bit now. About half as many Republicans early voted, right, versus Democrats.
Yes, and I think they were hoping to gain some of the ground on Democrats in that early vote, especially the in-person early voting. What happened is, you're right, they came out in pretty good numbers. They weren't able to gain on the Democrats. Democrats have still wound up in the early voting period. They could wind up about 40,000 votes ahead in terms of who came out in that in-person early vote. So I think it's to the consternation of Republicans that they didn't wind up gaining any ground, despite the fact that they turned out. And again, it leaves them with Election Day only to close that margin. And it's a lot of votes to close. They can do it if they have a really strong vote on Election Day, but it's a lot of votes to close. What we saw in 2024 and 2021 is that firewall was partially breached with Trump and partially breached with Ciattarelli the last time, but it did survive intact, whether it was by 4 points or 6 points.
Yeah, that's the thing, and it's really going to really come down to getting everybody out there and voting. As I say, if you have an elderly parent, a neighbor, anybody, get them to the polls, make sure that they vote, because that vote may be the deciding vote. It only takes but one, right? One vote could
Exactly.
decide
Yeah,
it all if it really came down to it. If we can,
especially if
we have
we're in that 1 point range. Yeah.
exactly. If we can, with a little short amount of time we have left here, I wanted to quickly hit some other local races in New Jersey. You have the Jersey City mayor race. You know a man very well, Jim McGreevey, former governor of the state. You were his press secretary, right, for Jim
My
McGreevey.
old boss.
Um,
Yep.
yeah. Look, one thing no matter where you stand politically, one thing that everyone always says about Jim McGreevey is he's a nice guy. I mean, he comes across as just an affable, nice guy. Um, so we'll call him a happy American. We'll call him that. Um, the insiders know what I'm talking about. But
Yeah.
Jim is now
Yeah.
running for Jersey City mayor. Where are things looking there? Because it's pretty much Jersey City's a Democrat town.
It is very strongly so, and a lot of Democrats are coming out and voting in Jersey City, maybe 25,000 in advance of the election. So it's really strong turnout. One of the reasons for that is because you have 7 candidates in the race, and one of the things I've noticed is that a lot of the other candidates are anti-McGreevey or stop McGreevey. They are grassroots candidates. But if they're splitting up their votes 6 ways, they're kind of leaving him with the pro-McGreevey lane all to himself. Now, the caveat there, and I think that probably bodes well for him, he's the most well-financed candidate, the most well-organized candidate. The caveat is that if no candidate gets to 50%, we go to a runoff election. So you could have a situation, it's not looking like he might get to quite 50 with all those candidates in the race. That's a tall order. So if it goes to a runoff between one of the grassroots candidates and McGreevey, then they get the kind of head-to-head that they would want, and we'll see what happens. That'll be later.
All right, with about a minute left, looking across the Hudson to New York City, every single poll, even I love how they tout, oh, Andrew Cuomo he's coming, he's now only 92 points behind. Oh my God, I mean, this is a
Yeah,
fait
I
accompli,
think
is it not?
I agree with you. Yes, I don't think there's anything that's going to happen to stop Mamdani at this point. And it's sort of a runaway train. If you see the crowds he's getting, if you see the kinds of early votes he's getting, it seems like a real phenomenon. And I think New Yorkers are just going to have to vent their spleen and do what they're going to do, and we'll see what happens. We've had left-wing mayors of New York before, whether it's David Dinkins or whether it's Bill de Blasio. We'll just have to bear down and see what happens.
That's it. And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, you get another chance in a few years. Everyone's making it
Exactly.
sound like the world will end. No, not going to end. And by the way,
Yeah.
whoever wins governor of New Jersey, can we do something about changing the name Drumthwacket?
It is a little bit a feat, right? It sounds like a little fancy for New Jersey taste.
Yes, come to Drumthwacket this weekend. We're playing croquet in the yard, Micah. Yes,
That's
come.
not
It'll be
us,
lovely.
right? Exactly.
Exactly.
It is in
It's more like
Princeton. We'll give it that.
Drumthwacket.
Yeah.
Micah Rasmussen, director of the Rebovich Institute for New Jersey Politics at Rider. Bet you didn't want that this morning. Enjoy the next 48 hours. We'll check
You
check
too,
back with you
Ken.
this week, my friend.
Exactly.
Always a
Thank you.
pleasure. You bet.
Take care.